The one. Emotional mistake. Super empaths never forgive. It's not because they're harsh. It's not because they enjoy punishment. It's because once this happens, their body stops trusting you, even if their mind tries to stay kind. And what makes it so confusing is that the mistake often sounds reasonable. It can sound mature. It can sound like clarifying. It can even sound like love. In a moment, I'm going to name the exact mistake, but listen closely for the part most people miss. It's rarely the hurtful action itself. It's what happens right after the empath finally tells the truth about how it felt. That's the point where trust either deepens or breaks. And halfway through, I'll give you a simple test you can use today that reveals whether someone's empathy is safe or strategic, without accusing them and without turning the conversation into a fight. Super empaths aren't just nice people, they are high perception people. They notice timing, tone, effort, the emotional temperature behind your words. They can feel when something is off before you can explain what it is. That's why being close to them can feel intense in the best way. They see what others miss. But it also means one thing. When you damage trust, you don't just damage a relationship. You damage the place inside them that decides whether closeness is safe. Here's the one emotional mistake they rarely forgive: invalidating their reality after they show you vulnerability, not disagreeing with them, not having a different perspective, invalidating what they felt, what they experienced, and what their nervous system recognized as true. It often comes out as these sentences: "That's not what happened. You're too sensitive. You always take it the wrong way. You're imagining things. You're overreacting. I didn't mean it like that, so you shouldn't feel that way." The moment you say something like that, the empath doesn't just feel misunderstood. They feel erased, because a super empath isn't asking you to have the same feelings. They're asking you to respect the fact that the feelings exist. And when you argue their experience, the message underneath is simple. Your inner world is negotiable. That's the moment something closes. Here's why this mistake is so damaging. Super empaths can tolerate imperfection. They can tolerate a clumsy moment. They can tolerate stress. They can even tolerate conflict. What they struggle to come back from is emotional invalidation, because it teaches them a dangerous rule. If I'm honest here, I will be punished for it. Punished with dismissal, punished with mockery, punished with defensiveness, punished with being treated like a problem. And once the nervous system learns that rule, it stops offering vulnerability. It starts offering distance. Here's a real-life moment that creates the crack. They finally bring up something they've been carrying, calmly, carefully. They say, "When you said that, I felt small." They're not screaming. They're not attacking. They're trying to repair. And the response is not curiosity. The response is correction. "I didn't say it like that. You misunderstood me. You're making a big deal out of nothing." That's when the super empath learns, in 1 second, my pain will be debated here. And a relationship becomes unsafe the moment your pain turns into a debate instead of a doorway to understanding. Most people think the deal breaker is the original hurtful action. For a super empath, the deal breaker is what happens after. Do you repair? Do you reflect? Do you care about impact? Or do you protect your self-image by making their feelings the problem? Because when you invalidate someone's reality, you're not just saying, "I didn't mean it." You're saying, "Your experience is incredible." And once you do that repeatedly, something changes. They stop explaining. They stop asking. They stop trying to be understood. Not because they don't care, because they've learned it costs too much. Here's what it looks like in everyday life. They send you a message like, "Hey, that joke hurt my feelings." And you reply, it was just a joke. Relax." To you, it sounds small. To them, it sounds like your feelings are inconvenient. Or they say, "When you go silent after we talk, I feel anxious." And you say, "You're needy. I need space." Maybe you do need space, but notice what you did. You didn't acknowledge impact. You made their feeling a character flaw. A super empath doesn't hear that as boundaries. They hear it as rejection with a label. Or they say, when you cancel last minute, I feel like I don't matter. And you say, you're being dramatic. It's not that serious. Now they're not just hurt, they're alone inside the hurt. And loneliness inside a relationship is what turns love into detachment. Here's the quiet danger. Invalidating someone's reality doesn't always look harsh. Sometimes it looks calm, logical, reasonable. It can hide behind these phrases. I'm just being honest. You're reading too much into it. Why are you focusing on the negative? Let's not make this a big thing. You're twisting my words. The result is the same. Their emotions become something you manage away instead of something you hold. And super empaths notice the difference immediately because safe people can tolerate your truth without needing to rewrite it. Unsafe people need you to doubt yourself so they don't have to look at themselves. That's why super empaths rarely forgive this mistake. It's not because they can't forgive, it's because they can't unlearn what their body learned. They can forgive you in their mind and still not feel safe with you. And safety determines access. So you might see them remain polite. You might see them act normal. You might even see them smile. But you'll notice something missing. They stop sharing their inner world. They stop telling you what they really think. They stop letting you close enough to hurt the part that used to be open. And then people get confused and say, you changed. But what really happened is simpler. They learned where honesty isn't safe. Now, let's go deeper, because super empaths often have a history that makes this wound sharper. Many of them grew up having to read the room to stay emotionally safe. They learned to sense moods quickly. They learned to adjust. They learned to be easy. They learned to keep the peace. So when they finally become adults who speak their truth, it's not just communication, it's liberation. If you invalidate them in that moment, it lands on an older wound. It lands in the place that says, I knew it. It's not safe to be real. That's why the reaction can feel intense. They're not reacting only to you. They're reacting to the familiar pattern. My feelings are too much, so I must shrink. And here's the pattern interrupt that changes everything. Some people don't want closeness. They want access. Access to your attention. Access to your forgiveness. Access to your empathy. Access to the part of you that makes everything feel okay again. When you invalidate a super empath, you're not just avoiding discomfort, you're protecting access. Because if you admitted impact, you might have to change the pattern, and change is expensive for someone who benefits from the pattern. Now, I promised you a test you can use today that doesn't require confrontation. Here it is, and it doubles as your action step. The next time you share a feeling with someone, use one calm sentence. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm asking you to acknowledge what it felt like for me. Then stop talking. Watch what happens. A safe person may still disagree with details, but they can validate your experience. They might say, I hear you. I can see how that would feel hurtful. They might say, well, God, that makes sense. I didn't realize it landed that way. They might say, I'm sorry. I don't want you to feel alone with that. An unsafe person usually does one of four things. They correct you. No, that's not what happened. They diagnose you. This is your trauma talking. They dismiss you. You're too sensitive. They punish you. Withdrawal, coldness, silence, sarcasm. That one sentence reveals whether empathy is real or performative. Because safe people can tolerate impact without panicking about blame. Unsafe people need to erase impact to keep their self-image clean. Now let's address the hardest part. What if you're the one who made this mistake? What if you genuinely didn't mean to hurt them? Intent matters morally. Impact matters relationally. If you want to repair with a super empath, you can't start by defending your intent. You have to start by holding their reality. There's a simple repair sequence that works when anything can work. First, name the impact. I can see that hurt you. Second, take responsibility for the effect. I'm sorry, I made you feel alone with that. Third, invite clarity. Help me understand what part landed the hardest. Fourth, change the pattern. Here's what I'll do differently next time. Notice what's missing. No courtroom, no but, no you misunderstood, no I didn't mean it. Because the moment you add but, the empath hears. Your feelings are about to be minimized again. Here's a micro moment that separates safe from unsafe. They say, when you joked about that, I felt embarrassed. Unsafe response. I was kidding. You need to loosen up. Safe response. I'm sorry. I didn't realize it hit you that way. I don't want to embarrass you. I'll stop. One creates safety. One creates distance. If you want a super empath to stay open, your job is not to be perfect. Your job is to be accountable without turning their feelings into a problem. Now, if you're the super empath listening, I want you to hear something that will save you years. You are not unforgiving. You are allergic to emotional erasure. You can handle mistakes. What you can't handle is the pattern where your reality gets rewritten so someone else doesn't have to feel discomfort. And here's the truth that can sting, but it's freeing. Some people don't hurt you once. They hurt you and then insist you're wrong for feeling hurt. That second part is what breaks you, because it makes you doubt your own perception. It makes you start explaining more, apologizing more, softening more, shrinking more. And the moment you start shrinking to keep a relationship, you're already paying a price that love was never meant to demand. So if you want one boundary sentence that protects you immediately, use this. I'm open to talking, but I won't stay in conversations where my feelings are dismissed. That's not aggression. That's clarity. And clarity is the beginning of peace. Now let's tie it together fast so it sticks. The one emotional mistake super empaths rarely forgive is not conflict. It's invalidation. Not the hurt, the erasure, not the disagreement, the rewriting of their experience. Because once someone teaches your nervous system that honesty is unsafe, your nervous system stops offering honesty. It offers distance. And distance over time becomes permanent. If this video put language to something you've lived, subscribe, because the next video goes even deeper into the pattern behind this mistake. In the next video, I'm going to show you why super empaths often attract emotionally defensive people, the early signs you can spot before you get attached, and the simplest way to respond so you stay calm, keep your self-respect, and never have to argue for your reality again.